Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for joining us. Well, not too long ago, computer class was an elective meant to teach basic typing and word processing. Well, now the computer curriculum in Nevada schools is getting a much-needed reboot. Cindy Chang with the Nevada Department of Education is here to talk about all that. Cindy, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so just about all of us at this point, I mean, we know how to use computers, right? But very few of us really understand how they work or, could program them. I mean, nobody knows how to code. It's a pretty unusual thing at this point, right?
Absolutely. I mean, here in Nevada, we've done a fantastic job teaching how to use the computers, like you said. We can do word processing, we can do spreadsheets, we can do presentations that are fantastic, but we're just consumers of technology at this point. And so our desire is actually to transition our students into becoming producers of and creators and innovators using computer science.
Right, and that is a really specialized type of knowledge that, I think the reason that we pay our IT professionals so much is that most people don't have it. Do we have any idea how many people actually possess the knowledge versus how much those people are needed in professions?
Well, I can tell you here in Nevada, we have over 2,700 open computing jobs right now that are not filled. And they're well-paying positions, but we just don't have the folks that are qualified to fill those positions. For example, we have 96 students who graduated with computer science degrees in 2015. We only have about 9 schools in 2015-2016 school year that actually taught computer science courses. Wow. And only about 104 of those students actually sat for the AP computer science exam, with only about 21% of them being female. And I mean, those are staggering amounts. We only had maybe 2 African Americans, maybe 12 Hispanics sat for it. I mean, this is unheard of. We can't continue on this path. Our students, in order to be successful in this digital age, need to have this computer science skill set in their backpacks, so to speak, so that they can get out there and be competitive with our economy here in the state and in the world.
So what has been the holdup with getting more people into more programs?
Well, as always, it's getting qualified teachers to teach those positions. One of those things, part of my job will be working on building this army of teacher leaders to get qualified. Part of what I do is professional development, so I'm working with a lot of teachers throughout the state and getting them trained in order to teach this. And it's new to them as well. It's not just the students. We just recently wrote K-12 computer science standards, and it will take some professional development to get the teachers ready to do that. But once they do, they're going to realize that these are things they've been doing all along. They just hadn't put the vocabulary to it. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and what you're referring to is this legislative effort, I think it was Senate Bill 200, that was just signed after the last legislative session, that kind of stipulates a bigger emphasis on computer science within Nevada's school system, actually requires computer science courses in all high schools by 2022, correct?
Mm-hmm, that's correct, yes.
And then computer education prior to 6th grade by next year, actually.
Yeah, computer technology education. So currently, we have a half-credit course that's required for graduation, and that goes along with the computer technology that you were mentioning before, being consumers of the technology. Well, we are, with Senate Bill 200, pushing that up to the elementary school level. Our students now are taking online assessments as young as kindergarten, and so this will enable them to be more successful. We want to measure their knowledge and not whether they know how to use a mouse. So, I mean, these are important things that Senate Bill 200 has incorporated, as well as then we have a task force that's now a subcommittee under the governor's STEM Advisory Council, which is under his Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology. So that in itself is huge, because now we have a voice and a group that the governor is sanctioning there. Although we have some history here. Back in 2015, we actually, in Nevada, was at the table when the K through 12 computer science framework was developed. And as a result of that, there were only like maybe 14 states, universities, so forth, that helped to build that framework, which then national standards have been built on. So Nevada has been a forerunner and a leader in the area of computer science education. That's not what a lot of people know about, but it's pretty exciting for us to be in that position. And so as part of that requirement of a task force, we already had that kind of built in. So we were kind of ahead of the game as we're moving forward with this. And so another thing is that Senate Bill 200 has said that the current half-credit course that high school graduates must take now must include a portion of computer science in there. So that, you know, for those that are now in high school that didn't have the benefit of growing up with this, they will then have at least some exposure to computer science before they graduate. So that's really exciting as well.
Okay, so I'm a perfect example of a consumer of technology, but I've never actually designed a program or done anything within computer science. So for those of us who are kind of looking at this from the outside, what exactly will you be teaching in a computer science class? What are kids learning? Specifically, how is it different?
Perfect. So let's talk about the standards then, so you can kind of get a framework for it. So there are 5 main concepts, core concepts that are part of it. So we have algorithms and programming, we have computer systems, there's data and analysis, impacts of society, and then networks and the internet. So those 5 core concepts. So let's just take algorithms and programming, for example. So if you're a kindergartner, you are learning in your classroom how to follow instructions step by step. That's an algorithm, right? They do that already. They just didn't call it an algorithm. So then when you move up to the higher grades, and so you are now in high school, for example, then you're going to learn how to create computational problem-solving artifacts to solve something in society, an issue that we have in society right now. Maybe that's creating an app, maybe it's creating a software program, something like that.
So kids will actually be learning to build these things in high school?
Yeah, it will be a growing process. So like in the elementary schools, they'll be learning the basics, the fundamentals. So it's not, because right now what's happening is they don't have anything. They get to middle school, maybe they do a little bit of, you know, website design or something. Then they get into high school and bam, they have a computer class. Well, it's not attracting the students. They don't have any basis to go off of.
Right.
It's completely new. They're maybe not interested in it. But as they are developing step by step the stages from kindergarten all the way up, they will have a foundation that then they can either decide to continue on in our career and technical education coursework, or at least have enough when they graduate they can be successful out there, fill our empty computing jobs, and at least be successful in this digital age that they are growing up in.
Right. I think that's a really interesting point that for those of us who didn't grow up with it, or at least grow up learning how it works, I grew up using it, it's intimidating. To think about designing programs and learning to code is a really intimidating thing. And I imagine for all but the most tech-minded people, that turns them away from that sort of program when they're kind of thrown into the option in high school. Especially, and we definitely see this in like minority communities and with women, they're generally less attracted to that kind of field. So other than having them grow up with it, how do you direct more diversity into tech fields?
Well, it starts with knowledge. It really does. Because you brought up a good point. I know when I was in college taking my computer science courses, I was the only female in there. It was a male-dominated, it's still a male-dominated area of the industry. So I think the students need to see good role models that are there, that they need to be able to see themselves in that position. And so with that comes, more equitable access. You can't increase your number of Hispanics or other underrepresented demographics in computing if you don't offer it at the schools that they primarily go to. So our mission with this is to expand computer science to all Nevada students, regardless of their race, their gender, their age, or their disabilities, or the schools that they attend, their economic situation, their family, and that they're better prepared for the future that they live in. It's, like I said, that we want them to be not just consumers, but creators of the technology. And so that's getting the computer science to where they are. And there's funding with SB 200. There's $2.4 million allocated to get this, these requirements implemented. And one of the big pieces to that, not only do the high schools by 2022 have to offer a computer science course, but they also have to, and an online offering is just as well too, and I'm working on that as well. But part of that deal is they have to increase the diversity of their offerings. So that's part of the package. So at the state level, we don't tell them what that's going to look like. We can offer suggestions. That's primarily will be handled at the district level.
All right. Well, this is exciting stuff. We're just about out of time. Thank you so much for breaking it down for us, and it'll be exciting to see how it all plays out in Nevada schools. Good news that it's happening, right?
Yes, it's very good news.
All right, Cindy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Well, coming up on Face the State, for those of us who haven't had the benefit of a computer science education, it really is easy to make mistakes with technology, and those can endanger our personal information or leave us open to hackers and scams. I'll sit down with an expert to find out what we all should know to be safe technology consumers right after the break.